Welcome or welcome back. This is Pairs World Knitting. I'm Jennifer and this is a knitting podcast all about knitting, yarny adventures and travel. Thank you very much for joining me today. So excited that you're here. It is a celebration of everything I've knit in 2024. We are going to dive in. I'm just going to share how I've kind of classified all of my knitting goodies beside me. And then I'm just going to talk about some highlights as well of the year. First of all, I'm going to go over, I think, my garments. So this will be sweaters and vests. And then I'm going to go over the accessories. Before we do, thank you very much for joining me this year. This year was a magical ride. The duration of 2024 started off the year, of course, on sabbatical, which was glorious and magical, and did all of my very favorite things with knitting, friends, family, being physically active and running, and of course, tons of nitty travel, which I'm going to be just highlighting my very favorite things. And now we're back at work full time, which is great. It takes up quite a bit of knitting time, as one can imagine. But all the same, I really feel this lovely time of sitting and relaxing after a day to knit. So it's been lovely. Well, on my sabbatical year, we were able, the love of my life and I, of course, were able to travel to Mexico, Montreal, Norway, which was glorious, Chicago. I did an independent trip there to see a friend, and Nova Scotia. Every trip we did was a lovely time away, and of course of exploration and adventure as well. I was able to happily bring in some kind of fiber or knitting experience. So for this year, I attended Knit City Toronto, the Ontario Spinning Seminar, or Spinner Seminar, where I first learned how to do drop spindle spinning. Then I went on the fun and challenging adventure of getting myself to the Hillesvåg Mill in Norway. I have a whole video about that, so check it out. And everything, of course, that I'm just highlighting, there's some kind of video on in the past that you can click around and find. I went to as well the Textile Industry Museum that was very close to the Hillesvåg Mill, and ended the year with a holiday fiber forge in Hamilton, not too far outside of Toronto. It was glorious. Within the year, I feel so happy and proud that I released 2 knitting patterns. This was the Bellwoods Hat, which was my most recent release of a knitting pattern, available in Ravelry, as well as my favorite Fingerless Mittens, also available. And these were huge, interesting, and creative knitting experiences that I so adored. I love everything from start to finish of the creative aspect of creating the fabric, the construction and design, to the application of the writing, and then working with our testers. Magical. I'm going to be filling you in on my most recent and really soon to come newest design that's coming out, which is actually what I'm wearing, the plug and play slipover. We're going to be chatting about that, so you're going to find out all about it. I cannot share how happy and thrilled I am to be starting this adventure, this diving in and getting really creative with my knitting. So thank you for joining me for that. I've published 6 technique videos on YouTube that will be accompanied with, of course, the pattern for plug and play slipover. And a lot of these techniques can be applied to, of course, many other garments. I've celebrated my very first full year of knitting podcast, which was really exciting. I've hosted 4 giveaways and 1 KAL this year. It still is going on and finishing on the 31st. So if this gets posted before the 31st of December, please join in, hashtag Little Knits KAL. Details are linked below. And I can't believe I'm sharing this. I have created and published and posted, of course, 43 episodes of Pairs World Knitting this year. It seems crazy, but it's the numbers and data doesn't lie. So there we are. It has been a very full year of knitting and everything that goes with knitting. We are getting into now the things that I have knit. So again, what I've done is I've classified these into sweaters, vests, and accessories. The total number of completed sweaters, these are blocked, not whips, not solo my needles. There were 12 from this year, 4 vests, and 17 accessories. I know I did a really different review and wrap up last year. This year, I'm very much curating in a way that I feel is meaningful for myself as a review and hopefully for you as well. So instead of doing a very data-driven review of my knits, I'm picking out my most favorite as well when I'm sharing, instead of giving it a number and doing a whole evaluation on the knitwear. Everything that I am sharing, of course, I'm going to share what I really enjoyed, maybe what I would change, maybe if I would knit it again, as well as coupled with any small mods that I can share here on the channel quickly, and yarn. And that is pretty much it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over all of my knitwear that I have off the needles, and then as a review at the very end, share my absolute very favorite. So it's going to be in the favorites category. Favorite category includes most fun, most memorable, most proud, most cozy, most worn, most excited, and will 100% make again. There we are. All right. We're gonna bounce in. I've taken video, of course, of all of my knitwear that I have worn to model and show you how it's knit up. So we are going to go. I also have everything beside me, so I'm gonna try my best to go over that with you and visually have it for you as well. And I've got it in chronological order. My very first garment that I finished this year, and I just have to click on my little notes here, is the Wild Posy, a gorgeous knitwear design by Melody Hoffman. This is a top-down sweater construction round yoke with texture yoke that includes lace and really interesting stitches. Every sweater has a memory for me. Every piece of knitting I've done has a memory. This was knit within Mexico. This was on the flight down to Mexico. I cast it on and I cast it off as we were leaving Mexico City. I have pictures with me of the sweater in Mexico City. We were in Mexico for a month, and this screams Mexico to me, which is odd because it is unspun. The yarn that I used is 2 strands of Tulip in their ash gray. This is it has over the year tons of wear and was such a favorite of mine. I knit it twice. So this, I'm kind of going out of chronological order. I'm going to do versions if I knit multiples together. So this is my very first version with the 2 strands Tulip unspun. I loved it so much that I knit it again in a gifted yarn. This is a totally different look of the exact same design of sweater. This again is the Wild Posy by Melody Hoffman. This time is in Le Gros Silk Mohair by Biche & Bouche. This was a very generous gift from Biche & Bouche and is just a stunner. I really wanted to compare and contrast different fabrics from the fibers between the unspun and mohair. So this is a silk mohair blend, light as a feather, of course, and it's so beautiful. This is in their brown red colorway, and I don't think I could have asked for a better outcome. It is, to me, what I would call a fancy sweater. I put this on and I feel immediately fancier in this garment. It's lovely, it fits well. I knew that with the fit of my original version of the Wild Posy that this would as well. It does sit very differently, and I did a different sleeve on this one. So the original calls for 1x1 ribbing. I did a little 1x1 and I tried to mimic the collar where there's a bit of a roll down, multiple rows of stockinette, and I got something a little unique. I don't know if I love the sleeve. This I went and I did my own thing. I think I just enjoy the 1x1 ribbing better. And yeah, this doesn't get as much wear because I do find I'm classifying it into the fancier category. So this is more for like my going out. I did wear this over the holiday season, and I felt like even though it is a brown red, it still had that really beautiful holiday feel in this really warm, cozy color. And I feel with the mohair, it elevates the fabric. It makes me feel a little fancier. So that's my second version of the Wild Posy by Melody Hoffman. My first sweater after that, and going back into the order, is my very first overall cable work sweater. This is the Moby. This is a design that became very popular last year from Petite Knit. This particular sweater is the Moby Junior. I've talked about this quite a bit. I finished a 3-part cable knit series. So if you are interested in cables, tips and tricks how to cable, getting different inspiration of patterns, if you are interested in cables, check those out. This was a very satisfying knit. I definitely learned a ton, not only in different knit construction, because this is not, you know, like you just saw with the top down round construction yoke. This was a trapezoid back where you pick up at the sleeves, or I should say the shoulder lines, and basically knit forward to connect in the round eventually. There were a ton of charts on this, of course, because we have cables almost everywhere. The let up on the cables is the double moss stitch that's happening on the sides of the sweater and on the insides of the sleeves that easily, I think, and I know I did as well, you can modify a bit for a different fit because of that part of the double moss stitch, instead of trying to modify cable designs or rework charts. This is a beautiful knit. It's a very heavy knit. The yarn that I chose for this is Peace Fleece. That's by Harrisville Design. That's where it's milled, and it's in their first colorway. It's a cream colorway, really beautiful and heavy, very cozy. That's the Moby Sweater Junior by Petite Knit. The colorway actually is called Antarctic White. There we are. Next up, we have, I don't want to miss anything. Ooh, my very first cardigan, and only cardigan up until this point. We have a heavily modified champagne cardigan. This is also by Petite Knit, and if you have seen this cardigan or knit this cardigan before, she's quite different from the original. This is how I operate. I see a design, I see an aesthetic, and I don't know why I do this, but I think, how can I change it into this other vision I have? So what I did with this is I have to talk about the yarn, and you're gonna see why. With the Moby, that was Peace Fleece. This, I love so much that yarn. This is also Peace Fleece. This is in the colorway Sauclin Salmon, and it's just a stunner with different little tweedy flecks of like yellows and pinks. What I did is this sweater entirely, the cardigan is redesigned and recalculated for every stitch. I wanted to have a less ease sweater, so everything is different than the original design itself, so the whole pattern has been recalculated. I did use many techniques that are very helpful on the Petite Knit website. Things like attaching a double knit button band, I mean, gosh, the buttonholes, there were so many new things. I think it was an interesting journey while I was going through knitting the Moby, which included obviously a variety of cables and overall cables that I did. This was up there. Definitely not only, I think, the construction of a cardigan, a V-neck cardigan at that, but with the button band, the double knit button band, it was a unique situation. If you haven't knit a cardigan before, may I suggest that you do not recalculate for the entire pattern. That could be very helpful. And yeah, I do enjoy the way it came out. I'm pretty happy with it. The buttons are very sweet. They're a ceramic button that I purchased from Via Yarn Shop in Halifax. I'll try to include the maker if I have space within the show notes. And I feel like it just makes the sweater super magical. It's quite cropped, it is more fitted, and she does get quite a bit of wear. That's the Champagne Cardigan by Petite Knit. Next up, I have the, we are going to talk about Let's Go Magnolia Bloom. The Magnolia Bloom is a sweater that I have knit 3 times. This is my 3rd time knitting this. This is by Camille Vad. It's a beautiful top-down round yoke construction with a lot of interesting stitches and lace work and bubbles to create a magnolia flowers, I should say. It's such a stunner and such a showstopper of a knit. I adore this, of course. I mean, I've knit it 3 times. It's beautiful. This has a double folded 1x1 ribbing neckband. I just have back here the little extra yarn that I usually use as almost a tag to indicate that it's the back of my knitwear. And I love it. I love it. I feel like it's a stunner. The yarn that I used is my purchase from Nutiden. This is in the colorway. It was a Swedish word for carrot. And I paired it. It was quite muddy in color, in the appearance of the orange. So I paired it with a mohair that brightened it up in a really lovely way. The mohair that I used is Dust by the Knitting Loft, and I feel like it was a beautiful enough match, but offered a brightness that I wanted to freshen up the color of the orange. And showstopper of a sweater. Was a quick knit. It's very bulky, of course, with 2 strands of the Nutiden held together, plus the mohair. There we are. That's the Magnolia Bloom by Camille Vad. Next up, we have 2 versions. Again, I'm falling in love with different sweater designs this year, and not only knit them once, knit them twice. We have the Tulip Pullover by Melody Hoffman. If you remember, I knit 2 of her Posies, and now we're on the Tulip train. This was my first of 2 versions of the Tulip by Melody Hoffman. Really simple top-down raglan construction that's going on here. The interesting part is the scalloped hem that she has a very specific written instruction, but then accommodating video to go through the technique of working the scallop hem. It's fantastic. I feel like it offers such an interesting piece of detail, and knitting it, I really enjoyed applying this technique to the bottom hemline. And it's one that I think, we could apply to a variety of different sweaters, not just a specific one, but it offers just the right amount of interest. I knit this on with a very Canadian yarn from one of the trips, and this is it. Like, all of these yarns have come from some beautiful trip. This is it's Aran Pink Wool from Woolworks by Heidi Wolfrat. She is a hand dyer and many other things. She has a beautiful studio in Mahone Bay in Nova Scotia, and it's a really interesting, bright yarn. Really enjoyed this. I wore this to Knit City, and yeah, it's a definite, mood boosting sweater for sure. I love this so much. We moved on to make a second version of the Tulip, and this one is it. So this is exact same design, same sizing, everything that I did. with 2 strands of 4 garn. This yarn is from Hillesvåg. It is their unspun yarn and yarn that I picked up while at the mill in Norway of Hillesvåg. It is, again, you know, it has that beautiful hemline of the scallop edging on the bottom. One of the big differences is for me was on the original version I did. Again, because I'm never sure with, I think, how the neckline would sit on a sweater the first time that I knit a new design, is I cast it on where after the ribbing would be started, if that makes sense. So basically when I cast on the first version, I cast it on where the stock neckline begins, if that makes sense. After the whole thing was done, then I picked up stitches, if you can see, for the neckline. And it allows me to pick up less stitches to bring in the neckline a little more, or as much as I want. It also allows me to, depending on if I have to be cautious and manage quantities of yarn, this allows me to knit as much or as little yarn I have left or would like to knit. With this, because I already knit that version, or sorry, I already knit the design ones, I didn't have to do that. So I knew the amount of stitch count that I would want, which was smaller than the original pattern, and was able to cast on right away at the beginning of the neckline, go through the 1x1 ribbing, and then continue. So it's a really simple raglan sweater, but it's that hemline is just glorious. So that is the second version of the Tulip pullover. Next up, we have the Juniper Crop. This is a super fun design by Caitlin Hunter. This is intended, the original pattern is intended to be just that. A crop and short sleeve sweater was the intent of the designer. This I went a little rogue on and became a little more creative and did a long sleeve instead. So we are quite fitted through the body, also quite fitted through the sleeve. And I love it. I think it's so fun. It's really, it's a really active sweater. Every color of yarn except for the cream was Peer Gint by Sandnes Garn. It was my first time, I think, yes, using this kind of yarn. Fell in love with it and felt like for color work, it really, I think, allowed me to feel much more confident in color work. I feel if you've watched the channel for a bit, I have explored color work, but never really felt great at it. This allowed me to play around technique, and yeah, I felt really happy with not only, of course, how it turned out, but found the joy in producing and knitting color work. The fuzzy cream color was a yarn I had in stash that is a brushed alpaca from Sandnes Garn. I knit another sweater in it and just had a little bit left over, but worked really well. I not only love the color contrast, but the texture difference as well just offers a little bit of extra fun. Yeah, so that is the Juniper Crop by Caitlin Hunter. She's a hefty one for being a physically smaller sweater. And again, for every sweater that you have seen and will see, this is every time of these patterns, I've knit the first size. If I haven't knit the first size, I have modified and recalculated to be even smaller than the first size. The exception is the Moby Junior, because that was a child's version of sweater. So I'm not a huge person, and a lot of these are Scandinavian designers. Caitlin Hunter, no, but some were. So just there we are for a little bit of reference in case you're wondering. My next sweater was very inspired by my time in Norway this summer. This is a sweater that I went off of a visual aesthetic from what I was seeing on a lot of other people of Norway while we were walking around, also in Stavanger and Bergen. This was a construction that I came up with. I saw what people were wearing, beautiful knitters of Norway were wearing in the summer, and I felt like I just needed this kind of sweater. This is knit up in Bella by Permin. The colorway 66 is just such a juicy, saturated, summery color. It's all mohair, silk mohair blend, and very common to find this weight. It's a very like thicker weight, yarn weight of mohair over in Norway, as I'm sure it is in many other countries. It just happens to be, I think in my neck of the woods, we usually only have like a lace weight mohair. So this was really unique and special to me. What I did for this is I started with an I-cord cast on at the base of the sweater. This is my technically first and I think only so far sweater that I've knit from bottom up. And I wanted it to be super boxy, super easy, and a pleasurable knit. So we went from the bottom, we knit flat 2 different rectangles, and I cast off at the top. So this is where you're seeing just really simple, I think I did a knit over knit cast off. I wanted that chain-like cast off to show on the neckline. I also wanted a boat kind of neck that was happening. I had the vision of doing a crochet seam, but it didn't look right, so I ended up doing a mattress stitch. That actually looks really clean in the end on the side. I was really happy with, and I ended up doing a crochet chain to connect the front and back panels. I'm just trying to show you here. And I love that little like bit of textured line. It's exactly what I wanted. I'm really proud of how that turned out. I picked up stitches for the sleeve and literally knit 2 other but smaller, like thin long rectangles to give a balloon sleeve, and decreased at the row prior to doing an I-cord bind off. That's it. And I shared, I think, even more details with stitch counts and that kind of thing engage on the video with this sweater that I shared from one of my Norway adventures. Got a ton of wear over the summer in this. Can't wait to wear it again, or maybe even on a very dull day of January. This might be making a comeback into my, knitwear rotation. So I was just calling this for fun the Summer Genser, which is a summer sweater. That's it. And it was just a freestyled, very fun sweater that I put together. My next sweater is a sweater of many stories as well. This is the Guernsey Genser. This is a design by Sanus Garn. This is found in the book Soft for Women. I feel like I even know the number, like 2022 or 2202, and it's only available as a physical pattern in that book. It's a cable sweater. It's a different motif, a very, very motif sweater, and it's gorgeous. This was heavily modified as well. I'll get into just a hair about this. If you are wanting to purchase the book, we ended up going to Cambridge over the holidays for a couple things, and I perused into the Golf House of Yarn in Cambridge. This is to let you know that they have a ton of physical patterns. They have not only, which I found really interesting, Sanus Garn booklets of patterns that you can purchase. You don't have to buy yarn quantities, which I thought was interesting, but they also have this specific knitting book available as purchase copies. Just saying, a PSA, check it out if you're interested. The yarn that I used for this pattern is, and it's always a mouthful, is the Handvolksgarn by Helhots Utspinneri in sand. I purchased this in Norway, in Oslo, at Garntopia. fell in love with the yarn. It is very rustic, beautiful. I modified the pattern in short to be super boxy on the top. I went down even from the smallest size. I go into detail, of course, when I share about the finished object in a prior video, and modified the sleeve to make it a skinnier sleeve so that we have very boxy on the body, but a more fitted sleeve on the arm. I love it. I also changed a motif. So all of this motif, you have a, 1x1 rib at the top. You've got some purling and knit stitches that happen. And then you have a beautiful like fence-like cross-stitchy cable. I found it quite easy compared to some other stuff that I've been doing. You've got a double moss stitch. I included, again, a 1x1 moss to mimic the top. Really enjoy that. This is different from the original intention of the pattern, which was like a wheaty type stitch. Love, 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 love it. I wear this a lot. She gets a lot of wear. The memory with this sweater was that I didn't have enough yarn. I was slightly devastated. Go into huge details. In the past, basically, I was so lucky enough with one of the generous viewers of the channel at Pairs World Knitting that I had a few people, this one in particular had reached out to me saying that she could assist me in getting me another skein, this beautiful yarn that I could not get easily in Toronto, Canada, and shipped it to me from Oslo. I'm incredibly lucky. My little knitting heart burst, and still does every time I wear this sweater. So this is, to me, a show of collaboration of our beautiful community. There we are. That's the Guernsey Genser by Sandus Garn. Next up, we have a brown. I was getting into the brown trade. You can totally see the seasonal differences of colors when I've done different cast-ons. This is a gorgeous, really simple, but really effective turtleneck sweater. It's the Karl Johan sweater by Pernille Larsen. She is the mother-daughter team of Knitting for Olive, and it is a top-down construction of a turtleneck with a saddle shoulder. Really simple construction. I was a little mindful, I think, oddly, about casting on a saddle shoulder. I don't know where or when I heard this, but somehow I got into my head that knitting a saddle shoulder sweater was challenging. Like it was meant to be for a very experienced knitter. I don't know where I got this from. If you know how to knit a raglan, or if you're comfortable following instructions for a raglan, this is no different in that you're just doing increases between different times of markers. That's it. It was really easy to knit and lovely. This was a knit that I cast on my way to Norway and cast off before we got back onto the plane. And so it was a quick knit. I knit this in Hillesvåg Tinda in their light brown colorway. So very meaningful for me. Lovely, gets a lot of wear, very classic. The only thing that I wish with this sweater, because I did knit this over the summer, is that I knit the sleeves longer. I think at the time when I was knitting, it was quite warm coming back into Toronto, so my brain was thinking shorter sleeve, but now of course that we've entered into the cooler months of Canada, a longer sleeve would be nice. So I know myself, I'm never going to modify the sleeve on this, but for this next time, because this won't be the last of the Karl Johan sweater, I will knit a longer sleeve. That's the Karl Johan sweater by Pernille Larsen. Now we're getting into some of the makes that I've done with designs. So here we go. I think I'll share this version first and then my second version. This is the plug and play slipover by myself. I had a very distinctive aesthetic and construction idea in mind for a slipover that I envisioned, and am thrilled that I have written a pattern for this. Today, this is in testing. The testers are asked to be finished by January 2nd. So I think you will see this slightly before the release of the pattern for the plug and play slipover. It will be coming out early January. Details will be on Instagram, and I will include details with, I'm sure, my newest YouTube episode as well. This is a bulkier knit, is very efficient to knit up. It is a unique slipover vest where it goes over the head but has these really airy sides. It just connects with a little tab. We have really clean finishes on the sides. This is a second version that I did. I knit kind of like a pilot version to get an idea of what I wanted, and I had mimicked with like double knit bands here, and it looked beautiful, but the process was not as fun to do. I've come up with a folding technique where I've done seaming, and the seaming is really efficient in this. You're not going to believe me, but I do have a video that goes along to share the techniques and tricks that I've done in order to make seaming less effortful and more joyful and quicker. Seaming on one side, from one end of the front to the back, took half an hour. So you're looking at, a max of 1 hour seaming for the entire vest. If you've seamed before, it's not crazy. And if you compare with a double knit button band, or I should say band on either side, which involves hours and hours and hours of picking up stitches, doing your double knit, the cast on cast offs, this is a treat compared to that. And really beautiful, fresh lines that happen. It just feels good on, it looks good on. We've got a 2x1 knit hemline and neckline that are happening on the vest. I love wearing this with my blouses, with turtlenecks. I really enjoy the cozy factor, of course, of this slipover, but as well it has this like airy bit, so wearing it inside when you're bouncing around and doing all the things, I don't have to take this on and off 50 times because I'm overheating. I feel like it's perfect at temperature regulation. So this is a very heavy gauge. It's with a bulky yarn. This is the Barocco, I don't want to get it wrong, sorry, the Barocco Ultra Chunky Alpaca yarn, and is, I feel, really soft, lovely, and it's a quick knit. The stitches, you're looking at a gauge count of 14 stitches per 10 centimeters or 4 inches, and it's a speedy knit. You are knitting a back panel, a front panel, you are doing the seams, and you are knitting a neckline. Then you are picking up to knit a double knit tab on either side. I mean, it's a fun little knit. I've knitted a couple times. I know it won't be my last. I will share my second version of this, and this one I get equally amount of wear. Same everything, same stitch count, of course, same size, very different yarn. So this is one strand of the Barocco Ultra Chunky Alpaca. This is a combination, and this is one strand of Let Lopi by Iztex and one strand of Knitting for Love Soft Silk Mohair. I got the exact same gauge, which is a 14 stitch gauge count for 10 centimeters, 4 inches, and on the same needle. My needle size, and I know you have to knit on the needle size that you obtain gauge with. This was on a size 8 US needle or 5mm needle. The nice thing with this, and I really realized as I was knitting my the summer Genser, which was that all over mohair sweater. I really found I enjoyed knitting a whole garment with one needle or one needle size, and this is it. So we are looking at even ribbing that I did and the little tabs that bring the front and back panel together with the same needle. This is all on a US 8 or 5.0 millimeter needle, which I really enjoy that. I found it very satisfying, which means that if you are bouncing around like me, commuting or, you know, traveling, even at your couch and don't want to get up for that second or that third needle, it's a one-stop shop. You can literally throw one needle in your bag and you're good to go. I have 6 videos that go through all of the techniques of how to make this garment, along of course with written instruction that are there to help you not only figure out what the technique might mean in writing, but accompany and help improve that technique with video, and allow you to find more joy in how to do that technique so that you're able to, you know, enjoy the process even more. I think it looks fabulous on. We have had testers that have knit this in a variety of yarns. I'm going to be so excited to share. I think I almost have to might publish a video just for their versions. Some have done the similar kind of mock collar. Some have done a sewn down collar. They're just looking stunning, and I'm so proud of this. So this is a plug and play slipover. You're gonna be seeing a lot of that soon, and I'm so excited. All right, next up I have a sweater that you haven't really heard about. I've touched a little, you know, a little tab of my finger on with you, but I have never discussed the finished object. So I'm gonna share with you today because I'm really excited about it, and I'm writing up the pattern now for this. This is the Kingsburg Keyhole sweater. This is my first, after this, my plug and play slipover, this is my official first garment design. And I'm so excited for so many reasons. So I'll tell you about the sweater, tell you about the yarn, and tell you what's going on. So this is a top-down construction. We've got a little bit of a rolled hem, a 1x1 ribbing that's done at the neckline, and I feel it just offers some like beautiful, but like nod to retro knitwear. So we have 2x2 raglan stitches that are happening throughout the sweater shoulder line. This is a garment that just fits gloriously. We have increases that are very particular that go throughout that raglan line increase that allow the fabric just to sit so beautifully on the body and allows for the shaping to fall in such an awesome, flattering way. We finish with 1x1 ribbing at the bottom. Of course, all of my bind offs that I've chosen to do are in pattern bind offs. And the back is the showstopper. we have a keyhole feature that finishes the back. I've got some wrinkling going on because she's been sitting, you know, for a bit. So this, I'm trying to show you. So this is just a really lovely, very feminine detail of the back of the raglan sweater with a little button that comes just to clasp and close it, open it up. I'm so proud of this. I am so in love with it, and I cannot wait to share. This, of course, has been knit up for a while now, but has had some time, I think, to mull over how I'm going to work through the pattern and kind of where I'm going to go with this. So right before the break of the holidays, I met with a tech editor in the city. So excited. We had such a glorious time sharing a sip of tea and really hit it off. I feel it's such a lovely, professional, but also personal way. I'm going to be working with this tech editor to get this pattern tech edited. This will be my first collaboration with a tech editor. to create a very well thought out and very reviewed pattern before this goes out even to testers. So I think the timeline for this is I'm going to be asking for testers probably nearing the end of January is my guess. But of course I will keep you in the loop of what's going on. The yarn that I used for this is in 4-garn. Which is an unspun yarn from Hillesvåg. This is 2 strands held double, and I love it. I love it. I've been careful not to wear this sweater because, again, I think where I am with the write-up and everything. The funny story with my second version of my plug and play, I wore this out to Sugo, which is an Italian restaurant in Toronto, and I spilled spaghetti sauce all over. I haven't even done a proper photo shoot yet. I was just so excited to be wearing these knitwear items out into the real world because I love wearing them. I love showcasing them off. And so I had to give it a little treatment. So thank gosh, wool is very forgiving with many things, including spaghetti sauce, because I think we're okay. So silly. All right, so that was the Kingsburg Keyhole sweater. And yeah, keep an eye open for that on my Instagram, and of course here on the channel. You'll be hearing more about that. My last item, garment that I made is the Stockholm Slipover. I have the footage of that I took before I gifted it to my mother. This was heavily modified as well, and that was with 2 strands held double of Duo, which is a split between cotton and merino wool. There we go. I gifted it to my mother. I talked all about it in the, I believe, the last episode of my finishing the gift knits. So there we are. Those are the garments. I'm going to go into the accessories. I will be as efficient as I can there. And then I'm going to go through my very favorite things that I've knit this year in as review to kind of like cap off like what tickled my fancy. First off, on the accessories train, I knit the framework bralette. This is a little bralette by Jessie Made Designs. This is in Sandnes Garn Sunday double. It's a very soft, comfortable, smooth merino wool. This is in that orange feeling color, which was so fun. And I brought this to Mexico with me. She's a good time. I wear this to bed often, but I have really enjoyed pairing it over a blouse for like a funner, louder outfit. It's a beautiful design. It's something I've knit twice of this particular design, the framework bralette, and it won't be my last. That's the framework bralette by Jessie Made Designs. Next up, I have a pair of socks. One is in the to be repaired pile around the corner. These are socks that I freestyled. I went off of the DK socks, or I should say DK vanilla socks by the Crazy Sock Lady as the basic construction of the sock. I did a twisted rib to start, and I did slip stitches every so often to get this really fun, beautiful design. The yarn I used is Perfect by Sandnes Garn, and then was just neon scraps. This was my first kickoff into the year. I started this in January, and I thought this was going to be my year of sock knitting. It was not. This was almost the last pair of socks that I made. And I can't even include the Love My Life socks because I've not done those yet that I gifted for Christmas. So there we are. Those are the sock effort from this year. And that is all that we're going to see for 2024. Next up, I worked on a cowl, particularly for running. I shared this recently in one of my other videos. This is no pattern, I just freestyled. It's a double knit like band, a little cache-cou, a neck warmer, hider, if you will. This is in a fabulous gifted yarn. This is Starlight by the Knitting Loft, sparkly sport weight yarn in electric pink, generously gifted by Maria and Bruna. Lovely. It has a little sparkle of stellina that is not itchy, close to skin. Again, I'm telling you this, I am telling you truthfully. I've worn this many times, even on my neck, and you'll see as a hat, I have no itch with this. It's a very soft yarn, and the stellina is not even present as a sensory piece. It's lovely, and I love the sparkles. So silly and so fun. This is a tight, like less negative ease, little neck warmer, and perfect for running. I will share then, this is kind of in a funny order, but because of the yarn, I'll share the hat. This hat is so fun and is doing so well on Ravelry. This is a new design out by Lily from Curatorial Knits. This is her first pattern. This is called the Beginner's Welcome Hat, and is a lovely construction of a 1x1 rib. This is in the gifted yarn, of course, from the Knitting Loft, Starlight, and has 6 sections of decreases that happen. She very much holds your hand through the pattern, and it's doing so well. She's partnered with, I think it's Ritual Dyes, and is awesome. So happy and thrilled for her, and it was a super fun knit. I knit this on a slightly smaller gauge because I did want a negative ease hat, especially for running. And I picked it for running because of the sparkles. So, and the bright of the color is perfect for me in the city, so that I'm seen by the cars, the bikes, the scooters, everything on the road. So that's the Beginner's Welcome Hat by Lily from Curatorial Knits. Next up on the accessories train, I have a number of fingerless mitts. We now are getting into the pattern design, and there we are. This was released in the spring, and I'm so happy that there were so many knitters that were interested in knitting this small, very simple construction, minimal design knit over the holidays. It started off with it was a whole other yarn weight, but it really started getting kicked off when I had knit it was like a bulky version of Favorite Fingerless Mitts with 2 strands of Newtoden and mohair together. Very simple design that I did of a cast on edge. You knit down, you basically create a thumb hole and continue for as long or short as you want the mitten to go. I have knit so many of these and have gifted so many more. There are 2 versions of the pattern, or I should say the weight or gauge, that I wrote or house these 2 weights in one pattern with for Favorite Fingerless Mittens. There's the worsted edition and the bulky. This is all the bulky. I knit a version in LFL Sloppy. I knit a version in Topsy Farm. This is their Aran, and in 2 strands held double of Plutelopi. These are the ones that I have knit this year and have kept for myself. I have gifted, I don't even know how many away over the year. They keep getting knit. I of course want to keep them for myself because I love wearing a variety of items, and I gift them because they're an easy gift knit. I feel happy in giving them, and the recipients, of course, it's a hand knit item. They enjoy receiving them, and I feel because they are so minimal, they go with everything, so people enjoy wearing them. It's been lovely, and this was kind of the gateway for me of pattern design, of working with testers, of the whole process of creating a pattern, and I found great joy in it and continue to. So those are Favorite Fingerless Mittens. The next up that I knit was a micro shawl. This I was going off of images to knit. I was interested to see if I could do it. I could challenging myself with these odd things. This was a design inspired by Amy Gillet from the Bien-Aimé. She had created Le Bandana, beautiful design, but I wanted to challenge myself to see if I could figure out the construction of it myself. So I did, and I kind of combined my knowledge and know-how from the Sophie shawl, and just kind of, I think, some of my knit knowledge as well, and I went for it. This is a hand-dyed yarn that I picked up from Unit on one of their sales years ago. Didn't know what to do with because it's a super wash, but it's really pretty. And so I created this little bandana, and I feel like, you know, I got something like Le Bandana from Amy Gilles, and was really happy that I was able to kind of meet for myself that vision, I should say, the image from Ravelry that I saw. It's got just little I-cord edging, and I played around with different increases and decreases as I went, found out one that really worked well and I think mimicked what was in the original pattern, so I won't share with what those were, just in case they're actually the ones that were used by the designer. I don't know, I didn't purchase the pattern, but yeah, that was one of the little spring like throw on accessories that I knit. I knit 2 Sophie scarves. The first of 2 was this. It was the orange, super bright but fun color. This is in La Bien-Aimée, actually yarn, in Hella. This is her Helix yarn. I held this double and got this really beautiful, fun, but wearable mini scarf. I was delighted to have knit this. It was super easy. I did just a specific length of no increases, decreases. I won't go on about the construction because you will have heard it a million times, I'm sure, on other podcasts. But I love this one so much. I knit it again. So I knit it in this beautiful red. It's a red with a little kiss of pink yarn, Scottish yarn. It is called Lalande by D. Jopin in Flame. This was less than a ball, and again, I wear these 2 all the time. It's ridiculous. So again, you know, petite knit is petite knit because it's lovely to knit up and always a joy to wear. Goes with everything, even in fun, silly colors. Then I got into the Bellwoods train. So I started dabbling into a hat construction of a broken rib, and I went to town. So we ended up making a design and creating a pattern for the Bellwoods hat. Simple construction. We're looking at brim up. This was my second pattern release. Thrilled about it and so happy with the construction. Really loved, I think, the generosity again of the knitting community, of the testers. It's been such a delight, and we have some really clean decreases that allow for the crown of the hat to just finish really nicely. I've knit this with the intention for me of having some ease on the head. I've gone into my curly hair phase that I'm allowing my hair to do its natural, slightly wild thing. And so I didn't want something that was very, you know, negative ease, very cinched on the head, where my head was gonna look, or my hair was gonna look crazy. So we went for something that aesthetically looked nice on, and as well, when I took it off, still allowed my hair to have the volume that I wanted it. This has been lovely. I did a whole other one that you may have seen while I was having that knitty chat with Emily from High Fiber Knits. I knit this on a totally different needle, tried to felt it, and ended up with something very unique. So she's a felted Bellwoods hat in the same colorway as the unfelted, but offers really different texture and wear, much more wind resistant, if you will. We've got these 2 and this one knit up in 4 garn, 2 strands held double. This is the unspun yarn by Hillesvåg, and this one was just leftovers that I had from the Guernsey Genser. So this is the Bellwoods hat, available on Ravelry, and knit an umber. I also knit a version that I gifted to Emily that was in 1 strand Filklana Peruvian and 1 strand of Knitting for Olive. But there we go. I mean, this is it. I forget that I've knit things and given them away. So there's more knitting, but you know, she's in the background. These I knit as a nod to the Bellwoods hat. These are Bellwood mitts. I have not come out for with a written pattern for these, but I will. We're just doing a lot of other things right now. Again, mimics the broken rib that is found on the hat. Mittens to pair with your beautiful hat. Really happy with how these came out. I have some clean lines that are happening here with the thumb holes, and she will be a pattern one day. We're just not there yet, so we'll get there. These are one strand of what I knit Emily's hat in from High Fiber Knits. This is one strand Folklana Peruvian and one strand of Knitting for Olive in a pink colorway to contrast with the red. They're really fun. There we go. We've been wearing those a lot over the holiday. My last object I'm going to share with you here is a scarf. This is the Fir Rib Scarf by Stephen West, paper pattern, and is knit out of 2 balls of Lima from Drops. Is a combination of alpaca and wool. This is a dip stitch with increases and decreases as you go through to create a really beautiful fancy scarf, but in black for me. So I get tons of wear of this. She's a joy to wear. This won't be my last one either of this. Yeah, there we are. That is the Fir Rib Scarf by Stephen West. 2 other knits that I am not sharing, but I will share something, photo or footage of, is the dog sweater Perfect Fit, a very customizable guide, not necessarily a recall pattern to a dog sweater. This is by Traveling Tree Designs. I knit this using a mystery yarn held double. I think it's the Harrisville Shetland wool, but I'm not 100% sure because the cone was unmarked and unlabeled, and I gifted this to my mother's dog for Christmas. I will share now with you my favorite knit items from this year. My most fun, so I have to go through the mountainous pile. I feel like you should see this. My most fun knit, of course, hands down, is the Juniper Crop. I love everything about this sweater. I enjoyed knitting it. I feverishly knit on this sweater the second I cast it on because each motif is such a motivation to continue to work down on. I found also knitting with this kind of color work is that it's kind of, I know you're gonna wonder, I think, what I'm saying. It's kind of hard to almost make a mistake from the chart because you're immediately reminded when you knit it up, because all of the shapes that are created or the motifs are mirrored, you immediately can see that you've done a mistake in your knitting. So this was really an efficient knit, if you will, very pleasing to knit up, and of course an absolute delight to wear. Every time I wear this and throw this on my body, it puts me immediately into a fantastic mood. People always make lovely comments, non-knitters as well, about the sweater. So hands down, the most fun knit of 2024, the Juniper Crop by Kaylin Hunter that I knit. My most memorable sweater has to go to the Guernsey Genser. This is not only because I walked to Garntopia on a 30-degree day in Oslo, and got to enjoy a coffee shop en route. Of course, the nod to the pattern is very Norwegian as well, from Sandnes Garn, which is the biggest yarn company in Norway, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the world. But as well, because I was lacking an extra, or the skein that I needed to finish this sweater, I worked so lovely with a Norwegian knitter that we connected through YouTube and through Instagram, and graciously went to Garntopia, purchased the yarn in the required lot, and shipped it to me. so memorable, so meaningful of our beautiful knitting community. So most memorable knit, the Guernsey Genser. Every time I put it on, I feel the love, which is gorgeous. The most proud. So this is the sweater that I'm most proud of. And I think that's gotta go to my Moby sweater. I'm really proud of how this turned out. I'm proud that I finished it, and I'm proud that I was able to make cabling fun for me. I wasn't sure how it was gonna go. This is my first overall cable sweater, and I feel so happy that when I wear it, I think like, wow, I made that. Like that's pretty cool. So that's the sweater that I'm most proud of. My next up is my most cozy sweater. That has to go to my Magnolia Bloom. This is crazy cozy. It is a thick gauge of material, like a fabric. This is the 2 strands held double of knitted in with 1 strand of dust from knitting, the Knitting Loft with a mohair. It's just a cozy delight. I think because it's a really warm color, it also visually warms me. But of course the material is incredibly cozy. It's so soft. It's a joy. All of these are a joy. So that's the Magnolia Bloom. The most worn sweater. My most worn sweater actually goes between 2, and I'm just digging them out now. Here we are. Is between 2 different Melody Hoffman sweaters. The Wild Posy, this was my first version in the 2 strands of Tulip, and the Tulip. These I wear constantly on my body. I love wearing them. I question sometimes myself with my color choice in that I feel like I'm a very bright, sometimes risky and like a wild child when it comes to color, as you saw with my Juniper Crop. But then I find I gravitate to really neutral colors. And I mean, there's reasons why neutrals are neutral. So these are my 2 most worn garments of the year of 2024. Next up, my most excited. So I am most excited about the Kingsburg Keyhole sweater that I'm designing. I feel like it's such a joy to wear. It's such a beautiful knit to create. So gorgeous with that little keyhole design feature on the back. I'm really excited for where I'm gonna go with this. I'm excited to have shared with you. I hope you're excited too. So that's the Kingsburg Keyhole sweater. And the Will Make Again is, where did they go? Oh, here. Is the slipover. It's my plug and play slipover. I've knit 2 of these in this version, in the version that is written up. This will not be my last. Technically, I have a 3rd that I'm not even showing because I have to modify the tabs, and that was a version that doesn't fit with the instructions. It has that double knit button band. This is a folded version, and these aren't my last. I know I've already got yarn for a spring version in fun bright colors, so that will be coming and that will be made again. That's that. Okay, we're losing sun, and I have a sea of knitwear around me. I mean, it's a good place to be. A sea of knitwear is always fabulous. I do want to thank you very much for joining me today. I want to thank you for joining me throughout the year, and I really hope that you're inspired, of course, to knit beautiful things, to try your hand at something different, be it a different technique, a different construction, or even knit something that you might be familiar with, but knit it in a different way. I'm really excited to see how different fabrics or different fibers make the fabric so different and sit on the body in different ways. Experiment with color. I mean, this is the year. I feel in my time of knitting that has been relatively short, that knitters have come more to the front of creating and in volume of what we're able to see out in the open with podcasts, with Instagram. We're getting out there and it's really exciting. I love the idea of creating our own garments from making our own fabric. I find the whole process beyond joyful. And of course, the fact that we get to wear that thing is amazing. And again, allowing ourselves to explore. So when we are traveling, if we are even within your own town or city, how can we incorporate our passion and love of knitting into that exploration of places we already know or maybe are completely new to us? Are you able to attend some kind of fiber event, a workshop, even virtual? I know, for example, Shetland Wool Week for the first year, I believe this year, offered a couple sessions online that they were doing. So even if you are at home and you are not traveling out for different reasons, that there are still these opportunities that are either completely free and you don't have to leave your house, or for minimal costs, we are still able to get that exposure and attend a variety of different knitting events. All right, I'm feeling so excited myself that I just want to go back and knit all the things. I'm really excited to be sharing with you in the future details about some of the designs that I'm coming out with. So thank you so much for being here. And of course, I will be sharing my 2025. I think it's like one of my first times saying 2025 knitting intentions with you, and they're going to be chock full of goodies. So until next time, wishing you absolutely the best joy in your knitting, wrapping up 2024 and moving into your 2025 knitting. Enjoy, and until next time.